Welcome to Grief Uprooted, a podcast dedicated to sharing your grief stories. Together, we embark on the mystery of one's grief journey as they learn to live, heal, and be courageous in a world rooted in trauma. Join myself, Christine, in an open discussion to help you uproot the grief in all our lives. I am an award winning author, professional speaker, and humanitarian in the field of grief and trauma. I want you to be part of the discussion. Welcome back to Grief Uprooted. I'm your host, Christine Durnetter-Landon. Before we start today's episode, thank you so very much for all your Christmas cards, your messages, your emails. I can't tell you how much it warms my heart to open up a Christmas card and see pictures of your families and the people I've worked with over the years and see how you've integrated your grief and how you're growing and changing and embracing this. It's absolutely awesome. So thank you so very much for all your warm wishes and all your support through everything. This last year of doing Grief Uprooted, we are now into January 2025. It went like that. So I'm so excited about entering in my second year with Grief Uprooted. So do like us on Spotify. Our YouTube channel is growing and growing. So love hearing your comments. Do follow us because it is only together that we're going to grieve, which in turn is only together that we're going to heal. Today's episode, we're going to talk about New Year's resolutions. We're going to talk about where resolutions came from and how do we keep them going. Usually they fail pretty quick, but what does the resolutions of a grieving person look like? What are resolutions that you can do, that you can achieve? This is a really concrete episode where we're going to walk you through some resolutions that you'll be able to stick to. Let's go. So where do New Year's resolutions come from? When we think about New Year's and the beginning of January, everybody comes out with these resolutions that they're going to have and they're going to achieve and they're going to do. So there's a super long history as to how New Year's resolutions have evolved. But present day New Year's resolutions are a lot of times to do with the change we want in our life, the growth we want to experience, can be goals that we're wanting to achieve or set. And when we're grieving, is this something we're thinking about? Honestly, when you are grieving and all of a sudden everybody's like, it's the new year, a time to start over, a time to look at your life and embrace and change the things that you want to do. Is this even in your mind? Can you even compute it when you're grieving? The answer is no. Majority of people who are grieving at the time of New Year's are not even going out to celebrate. And if they are just trying to push themselves through, trying to be able to go, okay, I have to think positive. But when you're grieving, could you be setting some goals? Could you be looking at New Year's resolution as a time for you to be able to reflect? So, after looking at so many different ideas for what New Year's resolutions or what a new year looks like for someone who's grieving, I've kind of chalked it down to two things: creating space for yourself to allow yourself to feel, and keeping that connection to our loved one who has died alive. So, these are very two concrete things. And you may think, well, it's only two things. But how do New Year's resolutions actually work? When we look at it, it has to be something obtainable. It has to be something that, we can do baby steps with. We can slowly move into. One thing that is very much connected to grief and a New Year's resolution or a new goal or wanting to achieve something is integration. Grief is naturally integrated into who we are. So when we think about wanting a change or integrating a new goal or a lifestyle, that's what we need to do. We need to look at our grief and see how it integrates into us. And that's what we want to do. We don't get rid of grief. It doesn't go away. The pain doesn't just snap, go away, and we think we forget about it. It integrates into who we are. We start noticing the things we do are quite mindful. We start noticing all these little things we never saw before. We start feeling so much more. So if we want a goal or something to be achieved, it has to become part of us. So the two are connected in a sense. So if we were to look at your New Year's resolution, and here you are starting a new year off, you've lost your loved one at some period of time in the new year. Some may have lost them in New Year's. The actual event, when we start looking at the news right now, horrible car crash in New Orleans. Um, those people died at the beginning of the new year. There are so many times that this world is grieving. And we're reminded when we turn on the news and we see this, you now are no longer looking at these events and going, oh, look what happened. You're now actually starting to feel it hits you. Your eyes welt because you know that those people are connected to a family, they're connected to loved ones who are now grieving them. So when we want to look at a New Year's resolution, when I chose creating a space to allow yourself to feel, this was because a lot of times in our grief, we're pressing it down. It's like, how do I deal with all these emotions that are coming? And now here we start a new year, and everybody's got these things. They're going to exercise more. They're going to lose weight. They're going to change their eating habits. Maybe they're going to financially rearrange their portfolio or want to start a new job. And what are you wanting to do? You're wanting to get out of bed. You want to take baby steps to feeling better, and maybe have a day that you don't cry. I get it. I completely get it. I've been there, I've done that. And so many times with my career, with the loss of loved ones, I find myself back there and starting slowly, just proud that I got out of bed, just proud that I made it through a day without crying. So when we want to create, so this was number one New Year's resolution for those who are grieving, it's creating a space for yourself to feel. Allow your mind, body, and spirit to feel. Now, this can be kind of scary because you think, well, what am I supposed to do? Just sit down and cry? No, you're not. This is what we're supposed to do. In the morning when you wake, a lot of us have trouble sleeping when we're grieving. um, our minds might be in that rumination where we're recalling memories or we had a dream of our loved one. Spend 5 or 10 minutes each morning in a quiet place. I actually practice this to this day. I will sit by a chair that I've actually placed right by a window for myself. A lot of my reflections are the stories I hear, the experiences I have with aiding, and I too have lost many people in my life. Obviously, I've shared my story so many times when my brother fell over Niagara Falls to his death and struggled with my own immortality when I had a cancer scare as a young child, or mortality, I should say, not immortality. And realizing that I too could die every day is kind of a blessing that I'm up. So I love to sit by this chair and look out the window, or sit in this chair and look out the window and really just ask myself, how am I feeling today? And one of the things I do is I write in a journal, but I'm painfully honest. So if I want to swear or curse in this journal, I'm doing it. Um, just writing that I feel like shit today. I don't want to do anything. And this is how I'm starting the day off. The other part of that, that I want you to be able to write underneath that, is how you're wanting to feel. What are you expecting yourself to feel? We have control of our emotions. As we've talked about, the pinwheel of emotions, you're the center of that pinwheel, and then each point is an emotion. When we wake up after a dream, or we wake up and we've been ruminating on our loved one and all the things that are in front of us, that we're like, can I survive on my own? How do I handle the bills? What is my day going to be like without that person? When we take time to wake up in the morning, possibly grab a coffee, tea, water is actually the best thing for you first thing in the morning. Sit in that chair and say, how are you feeling? And then be able to honestly write them down. It's only 5 or 10 minutes, only 5 or 10 minutes. And then follow that up with, how am I going to feel today? So if you write down, I feel like crap, I don't want to do anything. Then underneath that, these are what I would like to achieve today. I would like to be able to get up, take a shower, dress myself, possibly go for a walk, possibly start working on a project I have to do, and give your time to that 5 or 10 minutes to just feel and say, yeah, this is pretty crappy. But also say it out loud if you have to, and be able to realize that every day you have that time. And as time goes on, and I mean, we want to do this for at least a month for it to become a habit, this is giving your mind the ability to go. And a lot of times with trauma and grief, our prefrontal cortex, which is located right at the front here, um, it becomes very confused. You're traumatized. So that fight, flight, or freeze, or fawn is one of the newer ones, it has come in, it's activated. And we want to be able to give yourself some time to not be in fight, flight, or freeze, or fawn. This is a period of time for you to feel. And during the day, when you hit those bumps where you're like, okay, I'm going to cry, you know that you can talk yourself through that and go, tomorrow morning, sit down in the journal in your 5 to 10 minute window and write about this. Write about your challenges that you're facing. When we write things down, you're also welcome to type them. I know a lot of you will type journals and stuff. And I just want to say thank you so much for, I know some of you have shared your stories with me via email. And uh, thank you. It is such an honor to receive your stories and the struggles that you are encountering. That just helps me help so many other people. And also very heartfelt to me and helps me, gives me a lot of great ideas. So being able to write helps that prefrontal cortex organize itself. Be able to calm the anxiety helps you really put things into perspective. So, number one, take 5 or 10 minutes every morning. Sit down by that window or wherever you feel comfortable and take that moment to feel. Ask yourself how you are. Write down those feelings, but then also ask yourself how you want to feel. Where do you want to do? Where do you want to be? And make it simple. If it's just, I want to be happy today, then write that down. Because when we write that down or we speak out loud, we're talking to the universe and it will help you. It will help you achieve that. Within allowing yourself to feel, I like to offer you a second little part to this, which can be a weekly activity. We want to do every day our 5 to 10 minutes of feeling. Weekly, what is great is to be able to go for a solo walk. Take yourself out to nature. Sometimes I do love going to walk to the city. So I will go on quite a huge walk right across my city. But some days I like to just do a walk to the store. And believe it or not, buy a popsicle. In wintertime, maybe a bag of chips. But just taking that solo walk and talking to yourself. Again, this is okay. You're not crazy. We're allowed to talk to ourselves. And really just looking around and seeing what's out there. A lot of times I'll see bunnies, even in the city. You'll see somebody else walking their dog. There's a lot of good book nooks that have been coming very popular. I do love kind of going through those. But this solo time, you can walk and talk to yourself. Let your tears flow if they need to flow. Again, 30 minutes. Sometimes New Year's resolutions do not work because we bite off like, okay, I'm gonna write a book about my grief. I'm gonna take 2 hours a day and do a solo walk. These are unattainable. Now, by all means, if you want to do that, go with the flow because as a writer, I totally understand. But as someone who's grieving, who wants to start New Year's off better and wants to be able to kind of navigate through their grief a little bit, we want to allow ourselves to feel. So those would be my two suggestions for creating space to allow yourself feel. So we want to do the 5 to 10 writing and reflection, then a weekly activity of a 30-minute solo activity.
We interrupt this podcast for a dirty moment.
Welcome back to a dirty moment, but this dirty moment is a little different. I want to say thank you to you for sharing all your triggers with me. That's exactly what the dirty moment segment was about. Those triggers, those grief bursts that come from out of nowhere during the day, and we don't know how to handle them. Thank you so much for sharing your bursts and your grief and your triggers with me. I so appreciate it. You've also been asking if I'm accepting new clients. I'm excited to say yes. January 2025, I am open to accept new clients. You can visit griefuprooted.com. When you visit it, click on Grief and Trauma Recovery Support, at which point you'll learn a little bit about the journey you and I can take together, and you can book a free discovery session. This free discovery session gives you the ability to share your grief story with me. There, we will learn about some of the triggers that you're experiencing, some of the goals you may have, and how you want to walk and move through your grief. Together, we will learn a little bit more and decide on what direction is best for you. What direction do you need to go in with your grief? Where is it taking you, and how are you integrating it into your life? You can also share a little bit about with me where you complete an intake form. You also can email me at griefuprooted@gmail.com. I look forward to meeting you. And remember, it is only together that we grieve, and it is only together that we heal. Take care. And now, another thing that we could add to this is some physical support. And we often don't think about that because we think about grief and we think it's our mind grieving, right? It's our mind and our heart. And it really doesn't, a lot of times people don't think about their physical body. I think when I first experienced grief with my brother's death over the Niagara Falls Gorge and then my cancer scare, um, it was very physical for me. They handed me crutches and thankfully said, "You don't have bone cancer as we suspected." But it became a very physical thing. It was like my grief was visible to the rest of the world. Um, and so our bodies are grieving. And one of the ways is scent. This is very popular. People will take clothing of their loved ones and put them in a garbage bag. This actually works if you are experiencing impending death or anticipatory grief. When you take like a piece of clothing of your loved one, and a lot of times people will wear perfume or cologne, or just the natural scent of somebody, and you put it in a garbage bag and you close it. um, Years later, or even months later, when you open that bag, that scent is still there. Often people will say, like, if you wear a certain perfume and you walk by somebody, they'll say, "Oh, you remind me of my mother because she wore that perfume," or you could identify that perfume. So, one of the nicest practices I like to do for the body is use that scent. Either light a candle, possibly late at night. If you wanted to do that, you could light a candle and talk if you like, or just comfortably light it and know it's lit, and be able to walk and sit down and watch a TV show, but know that the candle's lit. And that is really helping you physically get up, do something, and be able to visually see it. I do love the scents from the candle. I know a lot of times in veterinarian offices and hospitals, they have those candles you don't light that you'll just turn the light on and it represents that someone or a pet has died. Those are great nowadays because I know it's a safer way when we want to light candles for our loved ones. Um, and the other object of that idea is keeping those momentums or the thing that we had tied into the garbage bag. If you wanted at this point to take it out, maybe a shirt or a pillow or something that reminds you of your loved one, just being able to make that part of your living environment. The scent, the touch, this is all things that when we're grieving, everything becomes heightened. So when we want to create a space for ourselves to feel, we want to be able to have things that are going to allow us to feel, are going to comfort us through this too. So, number one, creating space to allow yourself to feel. Again, I know I'm repeating this and saying it slowly, but I also know when we're grieving, it is super hard to retain information. And you just all of a sudden you'll be like, what did she say? I think I understood that. So, creating that space to allow yourself to feel. We have our morning reflections for 5 to 10 minutes. Love to do it in front of a window. Love to follow it up with what we would like to feel that day, perhaps some of the little steps that we want to take. Once a week, do that emotional release solo walk somewhere. Just take 30 minutes and go outside and get your body moving. Also, for that physical, the scent, the sight, you can light a candle or put a cushion or a t shirt or something of your loved one out in your environment. What you are doing is saying it is okay to feel. And that is your New Year's resolution number one. It's okay to feel. It's nothing wrong with it. Emotions can be embraced, they can be integrated, and they are there for a purpose. And the biggest thing you will learn through this number one New Year's resolution, you have control. Grief is the only thing that a human feels like they're absolutely out of control and absolutely crazy. I don't know how many times people say to me, I'm crazy. And I'm here to tell you, you are not crazy. You are experiencing emotions that you never even knew existed. But you have the ability to control this. You have the ability to recognize this emotion, kind of like a red light that says, hello, I'm here and I'm hurting. And you have that ability to go, I understand. Understand you're hurting and I feel you. And you will, I know sometimes I sound crazy, but you will be blown away how answering yourself and saying, I understand you hurt and I understand you feel, and I'm here to walk with you. You'll start to cry, but you'll realize that you have control of this. You really, really do. And you're going to integrate this into who you are. I know from experience, I absolutely do. And it is so hard. And the people around you may have not lost a loved one, maybe having these outrageous expectations for you, but you don't have to. Just start with this. Allow yourself to feel. Number two, I wanted to do is keeping that connection alive with our loved ones. I think so many times when somebody dies, we just say, okay, they're gone. We're never going to see them again. And this becomes a central focus for us. Again, that prefrontal cortex is going, it's ruminating, it's going fight or flight. I want out of here. I'm just leaving, or I'm going to fight this. This can't be right. This cannot be happening. And you have to realize that in all of these emotions that you're feeling, we're integrating the 7 stages of grief. And as we go through those stages or paths, or you're revisiting them consistently, this is this is why I love that pinwheel. It's just so much for the mind to process, and we start to lose that connection, but we can create it again. It's just a different style connection. Yes, they are not physically there with you, but how could we keep that connection alive? And that is number two, keeping a connection alive. This is a memory ritual which can be incorporated into those simple tasks that you're doing for number one. And that's what's so great about it. Designating a spot for that candle. We were lighting the candle to activate your scent, your sight, but let's designate a spot for it. Let it become something you regularly do. This isn't just something, okay, I'm going to do this and then I'm going to let it go. Let it become that memory of your loved one. Now you're going to start talking to the candle. You're going to start watching the candle. And all of that is okay because this is giving you a connection, a light to your loved one. Being able to really talk to them and say, I miss you. I wish you were here. But having that spot, sometimes I've seen couples where they've actually placed and they have used the candles that just light by turning them on, they're battery operated, um, placing that on the chair placing a pillow there, having that sacred space. And that being number two, like that's simple. It doesn't have to be really hard. And, another thing to understand is that these New Year's resolutions may be short lived. You may do it for a while and then say, okay, I think I want to get rid of the chair that I placed the cushion and the candle on years down the road. But I want to keep that candle and I want to keep that cushion. You're creating memories, memories of your loved one, even though they have died. The next is a memory box. So many times when, especially when a spouse dies or a child dies, we tend to have created a room or even the whole house becomes somewhat of a shrine to our loved one who has died. This can become overwhelming. And how many times we'll hear from people outside of our family or friends who are outside of our living quarters who will come in and say, like, you need to get over this. You need to put these clothes out. You need to get rid of this furniture. You need to do this. You need to do that. It becomes so overwhelming for you. And I'm here to tell you it is totally okay. It is okay to keep your loved one's stuff. It's okay to take your time in going through things. It is okay. Totally okay. But one of the greatest things I love, and I've seen work with people and even adults, is going out. You remember years ago, we had a chest. I can't remember what, a hope chest. That was exactly it. They're not popular now, but at the end of a little girl's bed, you would buy a big chest. And it was had blankets, and I think it actually held things that for when you were going to get married. Obviously, this is evolved. But I remember my sister getting this big hope chest and her filling it with things. And so being able to get something like this, but obviously we call it a memory box or a memory chest. And being able to take things that are super special to you and put them in there and have them close, keep them close. Sometimes people like to use old suitcases. I know myself, I had a blue suitcase from when I was a child, and I put a lot of mementos in there about my brother. And to this day, I still have them. And, you can set aside some time to really just go through those items or pull those items out and keeping that connection alive. A lot of times sharing those items once you're comfortable, once you're comfortable to say, okay, maybe I want to show the grandkids, or I want to show my children, or I want to show you know friends what I have and the memories I have of my loved one. I know a lot of times in the beginning of grief, sometimes we don't want to share. It's still sacred, it's still close to the heart, and we want to process it. But keeping that connection alive really allows yourself that chance to express and integrate these emotions and feelings. The other is legacies. This is huge. A lot of people um, do legacy books. Um, a lot of times it's really with a legacy. I know that it can be done with people who are dying, but and can be left for the living. And when you have that time for preparation, it's wonderful, because that would be something if you had a legacy book and you place that in your hope chest from your loved one who has died. But after they die, sometimes scrapbooking and being able to take those photos and create, a legacy book of your loved one who has died. I'm not telling you at the least that these activities are easy. You will cry. They are hard. But we need to be able to create that space as number one being, that resolution. We have to be able to allow ourselves to feel. That is something that the human condition, we just push it down. We push it down. And we can do that with most things in our lives, but not grief. Grief will not stay down. I am here to tell you it will explode at some time in your life. And if you're in that state where you're just feeling overwhelmed, these are activities that will get you through those days. Another legacy activity is if you know somebody that loves to bake. I know that I was working with a young lady and she had lost her husband. And once a week, she would bake something special. And this was a tradition they had together that they loved baking together. And out of baking, she started baking cookies once a week or cake. And then she didn't know what to do with all the baked goods. And this was a task that I kind of, when we were working together, I said, I really think you should take this to a level of sharing with people. So she started taking her baked goods to families and friends and now owns a successful bakery. And it all derives from her grief. She started baking and it started to lead to something so much bigger that she could only dream of, right? So, a lot of times out of our grief, we are learning new things and we're learning our gift of resilience and how resilient we really can be. But what comes with resilience, as in the last episode we talked about the 7 stages of grief, we're still going through grasping, disbelief, compassion for ourselves. Like we're still going through all of that. And we have to understand that that doesn't go anywhere. That sticks with us. Another one is, being able to keep that connection alive. And I really love being able to openly talk. We can write letters to our loved ones. A lot of times that's encouraged to write a letter to your loved one and you actually write it on a piece of paper instead of in a journal and be able to let it go. Some people will burn them. Some people will want to um, put them with a balloon and let them go. I know young children love that. I often encourage them to write it on the balloon then. But another great activity is keep the connection alive, keep the conversation alive. Who said you had to stop talking when your loved one died? Who said all of a sudden, because that child is gone, or your husband is gone, or your wife is gone, or your pet is gone, that you are no longer supposed to talk? Why not? I could make a joke here. If you had a teenager or partner who never listened to you anyways, keep talking. It might actually make you laugh when you think about it. But why can't we? Why can't we talk? And why can't we see if we notice something in the universe that answers us or says, hey, I'm here with you? Nobody knows the answer. When we had, I think it was Dr. Joshua Black on, and, I point blank asked the question, like, how do we know it's a dream? How do we know it's not a dream? How do we know if our loved ones are actually reaching out in a dream? And his answer was so perfect. No one knows the answer. No one. So we cannot deny anything. There's only one thing that all of us know, that there's something, because that is one thing we all agree on. So have that open communication. Keep talking. It's not going to hurt anyone. All it's going to do is keep that connection to your loved one present and alive. It is such a great way to process your thoughts, your emotions. Just keep going and keep talking. Now, when we look at these two New Year's resolutions, they're simple. Obviously, the top one, creating that space and allowing yourself to feel, is very concrete. The second one is kind of adding to it and keeping the connection alive. And these simple tasks that I'm giving you, you would not believe how quick you will get up and have an activity to do. You'll say, I got to get up. I got to sit down and see how I feel and write that in my journal. See what I want to do today. When we combined both these practices together, and we could possibly create this space for our loved one, um, it's allowing you to be able to express, connect, and feel. So many times in society, we are told emotions are not acceptable. We're at work, we don't want to show them. We're out at the grocery store, we don't want to show them. So when we're at home alone, We don't want to feel them. We're scared. But why not create that space to be able to connect to those memories, keep that connection alive, even just for yourself, and allow yourself to feel, allow yourself to say, it's okay, I'm feeling. Two simple things that I guarantee will be the hardest thing to do when you're grieving. I know firsthand, but it's a start. So, grief obviously is so hard to deal with, and it's so hard to move through these holidays and have hope and have, just be happy and think, yeah, we're starting off a new year and it's going to be amazing. And it is going to be amazing because you know what? You're listening, you're alive, you're planning one step at a time, one step at a time. And I'm here to tell you that you are strong. And I'm here to tell you you're doing it. So many times people will say to me, I can't cope with this. I can't do this. I'm not strong enough. And I'm here to tell you you're doing it right now. So, yes, you are strong enough. Yes, you are coping. And yes, you will make it through 2025 because you're doing it now. So many times we don't realize what is actually happening at this moment. We're either far in the back or we're far in the future. Just look at yourself right now. Right now. I hope that this helps you out. And if you have any ideas or suggestions for what your resolutions are this year and what helped you, don't hesitate to share them. I love hearing your ideas, your thoughts, and so does everybody else that's here at Grief Uprooted. So many times I read your comments and then somebody else will comment, and I love it because it's opening up that conversation and we're talking about grief, which is exactly what we're supposed to be doing. Thanks for tuning in today. And as usual, it is only together that we grieve, and it is only together that we heal. Take care, everybody. Bye. Grief Uprooted professional grief and empowerment coaching are not to be used as a substitute for professional advice by legal, medical, financial, business, spiritual, or other qualified professionals. All our products and services are designed for grief empowerment through learning and sharing of one's lived experiences.